Coming up next, it's the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime TV. We talk about WWE's bragging rights from this past Sunday. The Cause with the pulse about what pissed you off this week in professional wrestling. Meathead's 10 Best. Linda Kay with the hottest viewer mail in wrestling today and also Fan of the Week. And we talk about the big situation between The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. All that coming up right now on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime.
And now, celebrating 13 years on the air, this is the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time with David Hero, Frank Cosentino, Linda Kay, the man they call Meathead, and Damian Nelson. All the latest from World Wrestling Entertainment, total nonstop action wrestling, and more. This is the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. It's a special Halloween edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. David Hero, what are you, the Flash?
Really?
Spider-Man?
You know what? I know why you can't tell who I am.
Why is that?
I'm missing something. Hold on a second here. One
What?
second. This should help. Now do you know who I am? Now does it ring a bell?
You're walking on air.
I'm the greatest American hero.
Oh, for the love of God. That is tremendous. Hashmark tremendous. Well, you know, here's the good thing about this. Since it's Halloween, you know, and we're doing costumes, Linda's going to be in a costume.
Well, I'm hoping she's out of a costume as well. Should be interesting.
What was his name?
Ralph Hinckley.
Ralph Hinckley and Justin King here with you tonight. Official WWE referee.
So, I thought you were that guy. It's really Justin King?
That's me.
I did see a picture tweeted from SmackDown.
Hey, how about that SmackDown Tuesday night? We're live at Milwaukee's Bradley Center for SmackDown.
How about Frank spoiling it for some people?
You know, he's still learning Twitter and all that stuff, but it was a great night, and the Dashing Coalition was formed. Dashing Cody
Yeah,
Rhodes.
you and your pal sitting front row cheering for Cody.
We're in the Cody Rhodes section, the VIP.
You know what? Honestly, I was confused. Were they chanting Cody or were they chanting Kofi?
Cody.
And then when I saw you were leading the charge, I was like, oh yeah, Nelson's in charge of this one.
It's time now for our top story, and it's a big story, David Hero. As you saw last Sunday, The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar had a bit of a confrontation at UFC 121 this past Saturday night. The Undertaker was doing an interview with the website MMAfighting.com, a rare interview by The Undertaker. He was out of character. I can't think of any time I've ever seen an Undertaker interview, to be honest with you. In a perfect scenario, Brock Lesnar walks by, Undertaker pauses from the interview, says to Brock as they stare each other down, "Do you want to do this?" Brock Lesnar with no answer and walking away. Brock Lesnar, who of course had just lost his UFC title. The question, David Hero, because there's been a lot of discussion about this, and if you haven't viewed the video yet, you can do so at pwrshow.com, but a lot of discussion about what this all means. Is there heat between The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar, or is this all a work? And Brock Lesnar potentially putting his foot back in the WWE world.
If there was legitimate heat between Brock and Taker, I don't think Taker would actually be there. I think he would have been excited that Brock Lesnar lost. But it's just a way of Vinnie Mac wanting to find a top-notch main event for WrestleMania. And hey, Brock Lesnar against the Taker could be huge. Could be a monster of a buy rate. You know what? People are saying that Brock Lesnar had no idea about it. I'm sure Taker smartened him up a little bit because you just don't. It just takes a lot of guts to tell a guy after he just got his face punched in, "You want to do this?"
Let's go over the facts, because there is that question. Is this a work? Is this real? Is it involving WrestleMania? Is it involving WWE? Here are the facts as we know them as of this taping. Dana White, owner and president of UFC, says that Brock Lesnar is under UFC contract and will not be wrestling The Undertaker, will not be participating in any WWE events, is not aware of any collaboration between The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. WWE's business has been negatively impacted by the UFC on pay-per-view. The UFC is still drawing in the million-plus range for some of their pay-per-view events, and WWE can't do that anymore, not even with WrestleMania. As a matter of fact, David, we just found out that WWE's Night of Champions only got about 170,000 buys, about a 40%, 35-40% decrease from last year's Night of Champions event. And there have been talks in the past between WWE and mixed martial arts companies, including the UFC. And I think it's important to note that Shane McMahon, who is no longer with WWE, the son of Vince McMahon, did leave the company and definitely had meetings with the UFC. This could be huge, David, for both companies if a deal were put together. However, it could be very damaging to UFC.
UFC is still the beast. I mean, if anything, Dana White has got to be just furious inside knowing that Undertaker came into his building,
His house.
and stole some of their thunder. Because everybody was talking about it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It was everywhere.
It was huge. Still is huge, by
yeah,
the way.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to hurt UFC as much as it would help WrestleMania. How can it hurt UFC?
Well, wrestling is a controlled situation with a premeditated outcome.
Mm-hmm.
UFC is real.
But how can it?
I mean, RVD showed you that wrestling was not real.
Yeah, it's completely fake, But Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, Tank Abbott all came into the wrestling world.
Mm-hmm.
The fans are smart enough to know the difference. Most of them are, at least. If Brock Lesnar is going to wrestle Undertaker, he's going to beat the Undertaker. There's no way a 40-year-old dead man is going to beat the UFC World Champion.
Well, he's no longer the UFC
But
champion.
he's still the UFC World Champion. In the eyes of many.
Well,
even though he lost, he's still the face of UFC, I should say.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. The way it will hurt the UFC is the same way WWE's efforts with the XFL initially were hurt. I'm not talking about the failure of the company ultimately, but initially, how can this wrestling company put on a legitimate sport? And they were viewed as it was going to be fake. It was going to be.
Muhammad Ali was in a boxing or was in a wrestling ring.
That is true.
That
is true. A long-term partnership between WWE and UFC.
Never will happen.
If it were to, would that be good or bad for the business of wrestling?
It would be great for wrestling. It would be terrible for UFC. Because then people say, oh, look, and now it's a work-shoot fight. Dana White is going to stay far away from Vince McMahon as he can.
What, if anything, does UFC stand to gain from this?
Nothing. They don't gain anything because they already are, the premier pay-per-view company, in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into the toy stores, the UFC figures are right next to the
Cody Rhodes and
well, yeah, because no
Miz
one's buying
figures.
Cody Rhodes, so of course you're going to find them. You know what? Miz figures. That's right. In the spirit of trick or treat. Say trick or treat for me, will you?
trick or treat.
Here's your treat for you. I got you the hook throwing Miz. And you know what's cool about this Miz? Look what it does. It taps.
Got an articulating art.
It taps. And when I saw this,
Unbelievable.
I thought of you. Happy Halloween, Damian Nelson.
The hook throwing Miz.
No, it's the tapping Miz.
No,
That's what
hook
he's
throwing.
doing.
That's what it says right in there.
Yeah.
You can do a flying clothesline.
Uh-huh.
Let's see who's on the back of this. Kofi Kingston. Okay. All right.
But it taps.
No, it doesn't tap, David. That's for the clothesline. That's reticulation.
Looks like he's tapping.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
Is there candy in here too?
Well, he is kind of sweet. I'm sure you'd like him. So. So that's where he always is, on his back, isn't it?
Wasn't on his back this past Monday night when he dominated R-Truth.
Did he?
Dominated R-Truth.
Who won the match?
The Miz did.
Really?
Absolutely.
I don't think it went that way.
Oh, it went that way. The Miz defeated R-Truth this past Monday night. There is no doubt about
Listen.
that at all. Let's see.
Well,
Try to spin this.
Hold on.
Wish November 3rd would come.
Hold on a second. Who did the Miz leave with?
Riley? I don't know.
Yeah. Who did R-Truth leave with? Eve.
The Miz
R-Truth
can have any
will
woman he
always
wants.
win. No, he can't. No, he can't. R-Truth is a world champion. He left with Eve.
What did you just say? R-Truth is a what?
Because he left with Eve, he's a world champion compared to The Miz. He hangs out with the guy in his Letterman's jacket.
Where did this go?
Did you see how hot Eve was on Monday night?
She was. Even though it didn't make any sense.
No, but it set up the R-Truth match. No, we started with this, with him tapping. That's how we got there.
You saw the video of the Undertaker and Brock Lesnar at that in that interview after the fight.
Right.
Your perspective on the content of that video. The Undertaker's demeanor, the confrontation with he and Brock.
What's Undertaker going to do? Roll his eyes back in the UFC arena and cut an Undertaker promo? It kills the legitimacy of the entire interview.
True. When's the last time you've seen an out-of-character interview from the Undertaker?
He does them on those DVDs when they talk about the careers of somebody.
I don't think so.
Everyone's reading way too much into this.
Really?
Yeah. Vince McMahon won. He invaded the enemy's territory and stole their thunder.
He took some of the thunder. I wouldn't say stole it. From my perspective, the Undertaker was clearly preoccupied during the whole thing.
Well, yeah, he wants to make sure his wife is right next to him. He's looking around to make sure she's not taken off.
Second, he was looking for Brock. He was waiting for Brock, either in waiting for him in anticipation or in fear of the confrontation. Not that he would get beat up or anything, but how is this going to go? And for him to confront Brock and Brock to not react, we know Brock's got a bit of a tude. How
long has Undertaker been wrestling?
For 20 years plus.
Okay. Ever hear the saying, you can't work a worker?
I've heard that saying.
Okay. He worked everybody. He knew what he was going to do. Sure, he's going to look a little uncertain because he wants to make sure the timing is right. He doesn't want Brock to walk by while he's talking about something else.
Clearly not supportive of Brock Lesnar in his comments.
He loves Brock Lesnar. He put Brock over in Hell in a Cell.
When did Brock put him over?
I don't know.
There have been some reports that there might be a little bit of heat there because Brock...
There's no heat.
Long term, come March, April next year, will we see some type of involvement with the UFC in World Wrestling Entertainment?
No.
Will we see some type of involvement with Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker
I was done.
in the next 6 months?
Maybe.
How would you do it? If something were to happen, what would you do?
Brock Lesnar's in the audience.
Like No Way Out 2000, whatever it was?
No.
That's Goldberg.
Goldberg wasn't in the audience.
Yeah, it was. Where are you? Are you?
Goldberg was not sitting in the audience when he made his debut back.
No, not when he made his debut, but it was No Way Out where I think he got involved because he was sitting in the audience. And
Oh yeah, that way.
Yes.
Believe me, I'm sure they'll figure it out, but I'm not even concerned about that right now.
We've gotten some feedback from you.
Do you really think it's going to happen?
You know, David, I've learned to believe just about
Do you
anything in
think
this
Dana
business.
White is going to let his meal ticket go into a WrestleMania ring
The Miz?
with the chance of getting hurt?
Special enforcer, guest referee, special appearance.
He could do it no, because
It's got to be a match.
No, because Dana White doesn't want to. This is the wrong verbiage. He doesn't want the stench of wrestling on his company.
Right. We don't know how much longer Brock Lesnar is contractually obligated to the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Let's say his contract expires or ends at some point between now and then. Do you see Brock Lesnar getting back into the world of professional wrestling, where he has been very adamant that he will not go back on the road, but does miss the business?
He could. He could get a Sting deal, just do pay-per-views and TVs.
All right. Well, form your own opinion. We have nothing but the facts that
Can I change sheets now? We're done
Yes.
with that one? Okay.
And now let's go to Linda Kay with this week's first viewer mail. Linda, take it away.